Good morning. We're live. It's time for OgMent Your Week. It's Monday morning. Oh my goodness, October 12th already. Isn't that amazing? It's great to be with everyone. We'll give everyone just a couple of moments to join us. We're going to jump deep into scroll number 10 this morning. I will seek guidance. Because one of the things that we're going to want to be able to do is focus our heart and our mind together to get inspired ideas, intuitive impressions, and creative solutions. I want to walk through a little bit about how to do that, what might get in the way, and to share with you a couple of fun experiences. So we'll give everybody just a moment or two to gather with us this morning. And I think we're live on both Habit Finder and OgMentino. Is that correct? I get a nod from my producer. Just one moment. I think we'll be live. She's going to give me a signal here in a moment. Okay, are we live on OgMentino? We're getting close. I'm talking. Everybody's joining us. We're just getting all the technical things taken care of to be live both on Habit Finder and OgMentino simultaneously. I'm just waiting for a thumbs up on our OgMentino, and then we're going to jump right into our material this morning. Okay, I got a thumbs up. We're live on OgMentino. Welcome all of our OgMentino Facebook fans. Thank you for being with us this morning. Our Habit Finder faithful. Great to have you with us this morning. We're going to go into what could be a sensitive subject. I want to handle it as gingerly as possible, yet as emphatically as possible, because we live in a time when we desperately need inspired ideas, intuitive impressions, and creative solutions. What we know is that many of our entrepreneurial friends are blessed with thought processes that support this very process if we're using those thought processes constructively. And sometimes we, because of pressures in life and struggles, we use those thought processes destructively, which means we go into fantasy. We've talked a lot about going into fantasy or going into catastrophe, generally driven by a desire to have life different than it is, which is understandable, a desire for life to be a little easier and less stressful, or we just get into a pattern of worrying. When something bad happens, it's like something bad is going to happen. So we start planning these worst case scenarios. We worry and we start thinking, are we going to get COVID? Is our job going to be taken away? Is our business going to fail? Are our children going to survive the emotional stress, et cetera, et cetera? So this morning, the very first piece of getting inspired ideas, intuitive and impressions is to make sure that our mind is in the right place. And for it to be in the right place, generally is focused on getting guidance, which means I want to acquire new levels of ability to handle new levels of responsibility, because with increasing levels of success, there are greater levels of responsibility, and to do that with greater levels of ease. I want to be able to do this without getting tied up in the catastrophe and the fantasy and the frustration. I want to become the master of my emotions, as we talked about last week. So here we are. And I studied this morning, scroll number 10. Scroll number 10, I'll seek guidance. I think I said 8 earlier, but I meant 10. And I just want to read to you a couple of these paragraphs because they're so powerful. Who is of so little faith that in a moment of great disaster or heartbreak is not called on his God or her God? And in this case, Og very intentionally made the G in God lowercase. Yes, it's not an offense to God, my God, or your God. It's just he's giving you permission to have your God. Who has not cried out when confronted with danger, death, or mystery beyond his normal experience or comprehension? And are we not in that moment right now in history? From where has this deep instinct come that escapes from the mouth of all living creatures in moments of peril? Move your hand in haste before another's eyes, and his eyelids will blink. Tap another on his knee, and his leg will jump. Confront another with dark horror, and his mouth will say, "My God," his mouth, now it's capitalized, from the same deep impulse. My life need not be filled with religion in order for me to recognize this greatest mystery of nature. All creatures that walk the earth, including man, possess the instinct to cry for help. Why do we possess this instinct, this gift? Are not our cries a form of prayer? And prayer is really bringing our mind and our heart together in the same place. When he says, form of prayer, is it not incomprehensible in a world governed by nature's laws to give a lamb, a mule, a bird, or man the instinct to cry out for help, lest some great mind is also provided that cry should be heard by some superior being, having the ability to hear and answer our cry. Henceforth I will pray, but my cries for help will only be cries for guidance. And I remember the darkest of dark nights. I've shared this a few times. When the sun came up and I was still here, I said, I long to cry to the God of my youth, but the God of my youth will not hear my cry. I must change my God or change my cry. I need to change my cry. Henceforth I will pray, but my cries for help will only be guidance, cries for guidance. Never will I pray for the material things of the world. I'm not calling on a servant to bring me food. I'm not ordering an innkeeper to provide me with a room. Never will I seek the delivery of gold, love, good health, petty victories, fame, success, or happiness. Interesting. Only for guidance will I pray, that I may be shown the way to acquire these things. Now, there's a difference. Can you see that distinction back in 1967? Og understood that some people in their fantasy, which is a form of prayer, are asking for the universe to deliver. I just want this delivered. I want it manifest, is the word that's often used. That somehow through vivid visualization, I can manifest tangible reality. Oggs makes it clear way back in 1967. That's not going to happen. What we're looking for is not it to be manifest, but for us to be guided to gain the ability needed to acquire. Then he goes on a little bit later and says, I ask not for gold or garments or even opportunities equal to my ability. Instead, guide me so that I may acquire ability equal to my opportunities. What does that mean? It means that as we acquire increasing levels of ability, we see opportunities. They've always been there. We just could not see them without the ability. So we're going to want to increase our ability to handle increased levels of responsibility with increased levels of ease. So guidance is a clue that when we are seeking, we want to seek guidance to gain ability. That's like number one. Number two, I've discovered that most of the time, the answers come when that focus is also on how to more effectively and better serve another human being. Isn't that interesting? That when we're focused on serving and blessing another human being, and we get a guidance to how to do that, and we then do it, do we not end up eventually being the beneficiary of that anyway? Well, I want to get so much money to go buy. Well, don't focus on the money to buy, focus on the service and the blessing you could be in a person's life from which you are paid appropriately, and the accumulation of those dollars is sufficient to buy that thing that you have on your dream board. So you look at this relationship. So guidance to get ability, and focus on serving others, and last, quieting our mind. We talked about this last week, that we've got a couple of choices. We can be angry, frustrated, overwhelmed, living in resistance every time life shows up differently than we would like it to. That's called stress. Yeah, stress. That's the definition of stress. Life just showed up differently than our expectation. Our concrete condition for happiness. Something we've created in our mind that is so real in the mind that we're holding life hostage to it. So we want to be able to live present in the now, acquiring ability. We want to live present in the now, in service to others, taking what is, key phrase, what is, creating and celebrating, creating and celebrating, creating and celebrating, and learning to quiet our mind. How do we quiet our mind? That in those moments when life shows up differently than we would like it to, let us not be holding life hostage to an expectation. Let us have a vision. That's where I want to be. There's my vision, but I focus my efforts on the next millimeter. What's the next millimeter to get from here to there? And sometimes in those millimeters, we'll run into challenges. And we run into a challenge. We apply our creativity. We go into our mind, get an inspired idea. We go into our heart. We ponder. We meditate. We get an inspired idea and we act on it. And we move it forward a millimeter, and then another millimeter, then another millimeter. And we start to begin to create our vision in the fastest possible pace. Can you feel this? So as we're seeking guidance, our guidance is to acquire ability to handle each millimeter more effectively. We're most likely focused on serving other people so that we can create value in the world for which we are paid and with which we fund our dreams, and we begin to quiet our minds. Now, most of the time, inspired ideas that have come to me have been about how to serve a client before I go into a coaching session. I go into a Monday morning OgMent. Been here for the last hour just studying some things that I think are important for me, and I share them with you. Important for you. I've been pondering something that happened this last week, and I just want to tell you the story. As many of you know, we have moved into our dream house here on the south side of Pineview in a city called Huntsville. We look down on this beautiful, beautiful lake. Last morning, we woke up to clouds were kind of in the mountains and snow caps. It was gorgeous. It was raining. The smell in the air was just incredible. Beautiful morning. So here we are. We had a cabin in Bear Lake and a home in Bountiful. In Bear Lake, our boat was kept at Epic Recreation, and they took such good care of us. It's a concierge service. We would call. They would get the boat out of the warehouse. We would hook up to it, take it down and use it, come back, unhook it. They'd put it back in the warehouse and fix if anything was broken. It was a great relationship for a lot of years. When we moved, Bear Lake's a long ways from here. We need to find a new place to put the boat. We wanted to build a boat garage, but that's probably going to be next summer at the earliest. So I began calling, and I called, 100? Every single storage unit, every single storage facility along here in Huntsville, down the canyon in North Ogden, Roy, Layton, Farmington, everywhere. And there were no boat storage units available. In fact, we had one that was. I said, my wife can be there in 45 minutes. It was a 40-mile trip. She drove like crazy. They said they would hold it, and they rented it 10 minutes before she got there. Oh, my goodness. Well, we always said, if worse comes to worse, we'll drop the tower down and we'll put it in the upstairs garage. We have one up here and then one down below. We'll put it in the upstairs garage. The garage door seemed to be tall enough. I measured from the bottom of the tower to the height of the garage, and we had about a half an inch clearing. So at worst case, so this week we were at worst case. There was time to put the boat in the garage because it was supposed to snow this weekend, just a little bit, get a little cold. Just got it winterized, just got it back. We dropped the tower down and discovered that there were a couple of things in the tower that we didn't measure from the ground. You had to be up in the boat to see them. And the boat was 8 inches taller than the garage door, completely down. Now we have a problem. There is no storage. Snow is coming. It doesn't fit in our garage. Plan B did not turn out to be Plan B. And in a moment of seeking guidance, okay, now what do? I get angry, frustrated, overwhelmed, but it's not going to solve the problem, right? That's just going to shut down my prefrontal cortex, activate my amygdala to fight or flight, and I'll be impaired for hours. I had coaching sessions still remaining in the day. I needed to be on my best, so just be calm, be quiet. And I had the most amazing experience. I just share it with you. Very literally, go and call the phone number you dialed while you were parked in front of the nursery where Mamona went in to get the tape to tie up the plants on their supports that morning that you picked the boat up from being winterized. I knew exactly the moment. And I also knew the time. So I went in and grabbed my phone, went back to that moment in time when there was a phone number. And I dialed it. I said, I'm looking for a garage to put my boat in, a storage unit. What size? I told her, and she said, we have one. I said, really? You have one? I called Friday and you didn't. Oh, it got vacated over the weekend. This was Monday. We did the paperwork right then. Had them send it to me in email, e-signature, credit card, get it taken care of. And they even had a deal that it was half off for 3 months. Isn't that incredible? Half off for 3 months, the only one in the whole area. And of all the people that I called to get that inspired idea to call that one, I'm still celebrating that moment. Those are such great moments. You know, it's 11 o'clock at night and you're trying to solve a problem. Instead, you get an inspired idea about someone's need. And you get up and send an email. And then you find out months later that that email was really critical at that moment in time at 11 o'clock at night. Critical. Now, I share with you these fun moments. I don't share with you the ones when I'm frustrated and overwhelmed. Those happen too. We're human, right? But you have the gifting to get inspired ideas if you will change the cry from save me, I don't like this, to what abilities can I acquire to create my dreams, and how can I serve people more effectively, and then keeping your mind quiet by not going into frustration and overwhelm, just being open, because that brings your mind this incredible ability to think vividly and effortlessly into alignment with your heart, and those two together can give you inspired ideas. And I might add that some of them are often just whispers, just boom, just a glimpse, just an idea. 10:30 at night, if there's anyone I can serve, put them on my path and I'll serve them. And they hadn't come. I think I've shared this story. 10:30 at night, I text somebody. It just popped into my mind, them walking by while I was signing books at a speech. And by the time I got done, he was gone. And I just remembered that. It had been a year and a half, just remembered that. Sent a text message. He said, can we talk right now? So we got on the phone, and he was struggling with a problem. And interestingly, he happened to be praying when the text came through. Isn't that interesting? And we spent 45 minutes walking through how to solve his problem. And we were both tearful. 11:15. What a great feeling. Because when we get an inspired idea and we act on it, it turns out to be inspired. We just feel plugged into the planet, like we're part of something bigger than ourselves. So let's number one, let's seek for guidance to gain ability. Let's focus on serving more effectively. And let's keep our mind quiet and see if we can't, over the course of the next week, receive just an inspired idea that we act on. The evidence of it may not happen immediately, as I did when I called, yes, we have a boat garage. Wow. It may not happen quite as dramatically as that, but just watch those little things. It could be with a child or with a companion or with a client. Just paying attention that when you get one of those, don't talk yourself out of it. Act on it as though it's an urgent assignment. In fact, in the observer's chair, toward the very end, I wrote, when I'm sitting in the chair of the observer, being my true self, free from the noise of my unhealthy habits of thinking and the burdens of the past, I use my gift of vivid visualization. That's your gift, effortless thinking, vivid visualization, to hear inspired whispers and see visions of possibilities when you're seeking guidance to acquire ability and when you're focused on serving others. And my passion is ignited because one of those ideas, if we have wired to a functional MRI, when one of those ideas comes, it very literally ignites a part of your brain that's normally dormant in a human being. It's called a gamma spike. It ignites our passion. I trust my intuition and act immediately on these whispers and visions as if they were urgent assignments. I discover the validity of each, and in so doing, I trust and am trusted. I know and am known. And this knowingness is the single greatest source for healing my self-worth. Bonus. Begin to heal your self-worth. So let us seek guidance to acquire ability, focus on serving and quieting our mind and seeing what we can create. Thanks, everybody. Have a great, what a beautiful time of year. If you're somewhere where you can enjoy the leaves turning as we have here, the whole mountainside is orange and bright yellow, and enjoy this time of year. What a beautiful moment in history, even though we're in the middle of a social firestorm with the pandemic. Thanks, everyone.